Hi there, I'm Matt Keene. Thanks for visiting Creating a Future We Want, the Our Learning series, where I share just a little bit about what we're learning as a family. Me and my wife, with my girls 5 and 9, we homeschool, although we're not at home most of the time. And I find that times like this, mezcal in the desert, this is a good time to reflect on what we've learned and how we've learned it. A conversation came up today in the car, or was this yesterday, about sensing. And we were talking about our senses. And I asked the question, hey, what are our senses? I'll put this down. What are our senses that we use, or that um, facilitate our ability, enable us to gather information? So right there, I sort of led us into down this path of what senses are for, to gather information. And so we had, sight and hearing, vision, hearing, smell, tactile, like touch, um, taste, and maybe, I think that's the major ones, isn't it? But what I was really hoping we'd get at was, what are senses that perhaps are as important, but we don't list with those big five. There's six. I'm embarrassed if I can't remember what the sixth one is, but you know, I'm sure somebody else out here, if anybody ever watches this, will be saying, it's so and so. Oh, awesome. Good for you. Please type it in the comments so I can remember. I am truly grateful. So part of the reason I asked this question is because, we're doing a bit of, you know, in my life, I've had the good fortune to visit maybe 60 countries or so at this point. A lot. It's not like I know them all. I'm terrible with languages. Um, but I've spent enough time to say, and that's not just airport time, uh, to say that I have had the good fortune to visit this many places. And it's just a rough way to talk about, you know, how well traveled somebody is, I suppose. Um, well, you see this word sightseeing, and it's always bothered me. The word sight, I like that in a sense. It's just a notion of geography, right? Just a space, a place, site, SITE, the site, in situ, okay? So I like that, but the seeing part, that's the thing that's always bugged me, because it's true that the top 10 list, of, if you go to the city, here's the top 10 sites to see. It's the it's seeing, it's like big macro stuff that you see, I guess. And so much about visiting places, which is what we were talking about in the car, is not seeing it, but these other senses that enable us to gather information, um, filter information, and then, another part of the um, sensing, make sense of it, and that'll be a future video conversation. Um, so we were talking about sight hearing, sight smelling, sight feeling. All of these are critical. This is how, and especially all of those together, um, how we come to experience a place and gather information about it. And one of my daughters said, oh, another sense, it feels like it would be like the combination of the senses resulting in or giving you another way to sense a place. And I was like, yeah, right on. Is the sense that by putting sight and hearing together, is that a different sense that is not possible without one or the other? Well, yeah, probably so. So that was an interesting addition to the conversation. But then it went somewhere really fascinating for me. It's like, um, dreaming. Which sense is that? Uh, you're not hearing or seeing or, smelling, unless unless something's happening around you where you're sleeping, maybe you are. But generally, this is all up here, and none of those senses are activated. But you are still perceiving, and it is affecting the information that you have and you remember. And sometimes, maybe this just happens to me. I don't think so, though, because it happens in the movies all the time. People get confused about what's a dream and what's real. So that was fascinating. But then we got into a place where talking about, well, if it's about collecting information, your senses collecting information. Oh, we got some excellent little bobcat being towed through the desert here. Someone's going to go. It's not like a real bobcat, it's one of those bulldozer bobcats. So, what's receiving the information? Is it the brain that's receiving the information? I mean, is your nose giving the brain information, or is your nose giving your microbiome information? Something that is not even the human Homo sapien component of self. Is it the body giving the brain information, or is it the brain giving the body information? And who's giving information to the soul, to your spirit? So this was a fascinating conversation about what are senses and what is sight sensing, and how can we do more of that and less emphasizing the sightseeing. I'm Matt Keene. Thanks for visiting Creating a Future We Want, the Our Learning series. What is your vision for sight sensing in the future?